Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com, this is The Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
Anybody get to work today?
No, they're still commuting, as far as I can tell.
Welcome to Chaos City, right? Oh man. Only in Ottawa. I haven't heard how things are going, but I would imagine not all that well. Have you heard anything?
So the only thing I got was a note from my sister talking about her commute. So she's down, I guess, Carling Churchill area to work. And what was the text she sent me this morning? She's like, from the Airport Parkway Hunt Club to Bronson and Carling, 55 minutes. This was at 9:07 this morning. So, I mean, that's north-south. And you know what that is, right? It's everybody backing up because they can't get anywhere east-west in this city right now.
That's normally about a 5-minute drive. 55 minutes.
Yep.
Well, what the heck, eh? I have a question for you. Not to do with the chaos. We've talked about chaos before. Should, in your opinion, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, dogs, cats, fish, whatever. Well, now that I have fish, I have to address them, right? Should teachers be allowed to strike? I mean, let's face it. Police can't strike, and yet somehow have managed to become among the highest paid public servants that we have. Firefighters not allowed to strike, also very well paid with excellent benefits. Our armed forces not allowed to strike, pay not that great, but there are a lot of benefits. The reason that police and fire and the military cannot strike is because they are considered to be essential services, too vital to the safety and security of the nation to allow them to walk off the job. Not too many people would disagree with that, but it begs this question. Is education of our children not a vital, essential service? I believe it is. Is not the education of our children just as vital to the safety and security of our nation as police, fire, and the military? I believe it is. You cannot run a free democratic nation without an educated population. You just cannot. The reason that I ask at this time is here we go again, folks. Negotiations have just begun between Ontario and about 243,000 education workers. Already some support workers, they're threatening to strike. They've already taken a strike vote. And as always, the threat of a strike hangs over all teacher negotiations. Fact of the matter is that throughout the years, teachers in Ontario have gone on strike against every government that we have ever elected in this province. They have gone on strike against Liberal governments. They have gone on strike against Conservative governments. And yupper, they have gone on strike against the NDP government. As a matter of fact, they were probably madder at the NDP government than even against the Conservatives. So, I mean, it's just, it's almost, in some quarters, it's almost a joke, but it's not a joke. The education of our children is vital to the health and security of our nation. We cannot, I repeat, run a free and democratic nation without an educated population. We wouldn't, I mean, without an educated population, we just could not compete in the world marketplace. And you know, always we have that threat of a strike. And you know, the fact of the matter is, it's not as if teachers in this province are not well paid. Just doing some checking, over one half of all of Ontario teachers make more than $100,000 a year, plus some very good benefits, probably some of the best benefits afforded anybody in the Western world. But always that threat of a strike. Let me ask you, in allowing teachers to strike, and other education workers for that matter, Are we not really saying that the education of our children is really not all that important? Not as vital as police, fire, military? As a matter of fact, I'm really questioning whether anybody in any part of the public service should be allowed to strike. It seems to me, particularly in today's age, that one of the qualifications to work in the public service, which let's face it, most figures seem to indicate the average public servant is paid about 20% more than those in the private sector. So it's not as if they're not well paid. But if you're working in the public sector, you essentially have a monopoly. If you strike in the passport office, well, we can't get passports. If you strike as a teacher, then our children can't get educated. Teachers have essentially a monopoly unless parents are prepared to do it. I just don't think, let's deal with teachers. I just don't think that teachers in particular, and especially at this time, after everything that we have put our children through, Zoom teaching, classroom teaching, no classroom teacher, masks, no masks, etc., etc. We have put our children through enough. I think we should at least give them security of knowing that this fall they will all be back in class. And I mean back in class, that there will be teachers in the class, there will be custodians looking after the hallways, etc. I think that we owe that to our children. I think that if the teachers unions had any conscience whatsoever, they would say, you know what, let's hold a strike threat in abeyance this time. Let's give our children the reassurance that yes, this year at the very least, they will not be interrupted. We will be in the classroom. We will teach them to the best of our ability. That's what I think should happen. Unfortunately, in all probability, that's not what will happen. As a matter of fact, as I say, some custodians have already voted to strike. One of the problems that faces the Ontario government, no matter which government it is, that they've got to deal with 5 separate unions. This really complicates things, and one of the reasons is that in some ways, and I've seen this over the years, unions actually in some cases are really competing with each other. The union holds out for this and that because they want to prove to the other union members that theirs is the best union and you really should join us. So they try to outdo each other to the detriment of children. They use children as pawns in a vicious, dirty game. I'm sorry, but I've seen it happen year after year after year after year after year. Same thing. But this time, at this year, you may continue to support the right to strike for teachers, but should that at least this year, should that strike right not be placed into abeyance in deference to our children who have gone through hell trying to get educated? Oh, what's your feeling on this, folk, as to whether they should be allowed to strike at all, and whether this year, at the very least, they should not be? They should. As I repeat, I think that the teachers and everybody should guarantee our children right now that we will be in our classroom, come hell or high water. We will be in the classroom this year. We're not going to hold a threat of a strike over you. We want to make sure that you feel comfortable and knowing that this year, at the very least, we're going to be there for you all the time. Any thoughts on this, folks? If there's anything else that you want to discuss, please feel free to do so. But the fact of the matter is, as I say, that right now we're sitting down, the government's sitting down, trying to negotiate with about 250,000 teachers. And one of the things, of course, it's always about money, but it's also about classroom size, which means essentially when they talk about classroom size, the unions simply say, you know what, we want smaller classrooms, which means we have to hire more teachers, which means that we, the union, get more union dues. That's really what it's all about. It's a dirty, nasty game. Time that we put it aside, at least this year. What say you? John, any response thus far?
Yes, sir. And a reminder to those listening and watching, we are on Facebook, so The Lowell Green or Blast the Radio or Milkman Show. Those are your 3 Facebook channels. YouTube and Twitch, it's Blast the Radio. And, of course, you're listening on blasttheradio.com on the Blast the Radio app, and you can ask your smart speaker to play Blast the Radio. Let's go to Facebook. And Lisa says, I'm so glad I don't have to worry about this as my child is in private school. I don't believe teachers should strike when it directly affects the students.
Well, I mean, but it's got to direct. I mean, if teachers on strike, it directly affects the students. The fact of the matter is that when I say the teachers have a monopoly, well, if you've got the money, you can send them to a private school. Not too many people can afford that. And you can teach them at home, and not many people can afford that. But essentially, teachers have a monopoly. As a matter of fact, as I say, almost all public servants have a monopoly. Listen, it's one thing to strike in the private sector, another to strike in the public sector. In the private sector, listen, fill your hat. If Canadian Tire goes on strike, well, we can shop at Home Depot, okay? If Ford goes on strike, well, we can buy a Chevy. I think you get my point. But as I say, if people in the passport office decide to strike, we can't get passports. We can't travel. If teachers decide to strike, our children can't get educated. Simple as that, and as complicated as that. John, back to you. Sorry.
And that's all part of the whole, strike purpose, right? Is we can hold this hostage and really buckle down and get what we really want out of the deal. Okay, Ann, I was about to read your comment, and here we go. Teachers can strike after school hours and on weekends. After all, these are kids. Tom says, no, teachers should be an essential service. On Facebook, Joshua says, what bothers me is when teachers claim they strike for the children, using children as pawns. Granted, teachers may have some fair grievances, but they use the strike tactic so often it gets old. Are there no other ways to settle issues without hurting our children?
Well, that's a very good point. And I raised the issue of police who are very well paid. Excuse me. Very well paid, very good benefits. Ditto, firefighters. They don't have unions. They have come up with other methods, arbitration, et cetera, But it would seem to me that if firefighters and police have been able to negotiate very good contracts without the threat of strike, that the same thing could and should apply to the teaching profession. Well, I don't understand. If we can get our police the salaries up to where they are without strikes, why can't we do that with our teachers? Go ahead, John, please.
Margaret moments ago said, I would not want to be a teacher today. There's no respect. Children are rude, disrespectful, aggressive. Some teachers go to school and have to wear armor so not to get hurt by aggressive students. Parents have no control over their kids and leaves them to teachers who can't touch a student.
No, I disagree. And she's not responding to my question. You know what? If it's the profession is too tough, take up something else. I mean, there's no question that situations have changed in many classrooms, but particularly at the elementary level, having to wear armor, that's a gross exaggeration. But besides which, as I say, if that's not what you want, take up another profession. It's a very well paid profession. Go ahead, please.
We invite your calls and your texts as well, 613-413-2217. Murray in Saskatchewan says they even want to strike when teaching from home. Let's go to YouTube. Boo-boo, teachers are whining again. Here we go. Can the teachers not do their jobs without threatening the populace? This always happens when their contract expires. They have more time off than any other people. Boo-boo
well,
says.
It's not. One of the things is, I think we've got to remember that when the teachers go on strike, they're not striking against the government. They're striking against children and children's parents. That's who suffers, and particularly the children. Here are little children. Here, it always just almost makes you cry. Kindergarten, the 5 and 6 year old kids being used as pawns in a dirty tactic negotiation by teachers' unions. Little children excited. They want to, the first day of school, they want to go out. They've got the new crayons and the new pencils and the new pack sack and the whole. They're all excited, and then it's teacher on strike. I mean, it's the kids that are being victimized here, and their parents. Go ahead, John.
Pencils and crayons, Lowell?
Well, whatever.
Computers. That's a brand new laptop. The last I checked. I have no idea. I'm not a parent. I have no idea what kids are taking to school these days. I just assumed there was no more handwriting even. Anyway, I digress. Tom says teachers should absolutely be an essential service. Keep posting your comments, facebook.com, YouTube, Twitch, etc. And again, the number here, 613-413-2217.
Let me just address that. Thanks, John. I'm sorry. He's absolutely right. If we allow teachers to strike, and I said that earlier, then what we are saying is that, well, education is not essential. It's not an essential service. Firefighting is essential. Policing is essential. Military is essential. But education's not essential. I disagree. As a matter of fact, I think of all of the things I mentioned, I think education is the most essential. I really do. First of all, I don't think you can have a proper police force unless they are educated. I don't think you can have a proper fire department unless they are educated. I don't think you can have a proper military unless they are educated. If you think differently, well, but I, I say education is the most essential service any nation has. The education of the children is the most essential and most vital job that a nation has. Go ahead, John.
Our first text of the day rolling in. Thank you, Deb, 613-413-2217. Deb says, I remember the teacher strikes when my kids were young. As a single mom, it was a real problem trying to find daycare for them so I could go to work. Yes, teachers should absolutely be an essential service, says Deb. Over to Chrissy. She's on Twitch. She says teachers should be allowed, just like any workplace, they need to know what working conditions are needed to teach the children today. Social and after-school sports and activities are vital as long as teachers have the correct tools. Debbie says your suggestion that they stay in school, especially this year, is a good idea. Mahadi says, nope, teachers should not be allowed to strike if they get paid a lot of money to teach students from the Ottawa-Carleton District School Board. And back to Carrie. She says, if not totally banned, it should be banned the same length of time that schools were running under COVID issues. Let's go back to Joshua here. Moments ago, Joshua said, education is at the core of our society. It affects every part of our lives and everything we do.
Absolutely. And saying that teaching is not an essential service, I repeat, is saying that education is not essential. Where did we ever get that idea? Education is not essential? So unessential, as a matter of fact, that we can allow teachers to go out on strike and our children not to get educated? Man, oh man, oh man. Go ahead, John, please. First of all, let me take a moment or two here to talk about Shields.
Sure.
Now, in order, very clearly, in order to check out Shields' wonderful website, you've got to be able to read. You've got to have a reasonable education in order to figure out prices, et cetera, et cetera. I just throw this out as a very poor attempt to try and bridge here. What I'm saying to you once again is that, folks, if you're in the market for appliances of any kinds, please, at the very least, and I've always said this, give Shields a chance. They're a good company, well-known, very reputable, in business, same family since 1947. Prices very, very competitive, and about 90% of all the appliances that you could possibly want, they have in stock. Shields.ca. That's SCHEELS.ca. It's a great website. It's so good that even I can figure it out. John.
I love that you even gave us a spelling lesson on Shields.
Well, okay, go ahead. You're right.
La Grosse Patate is on YouTube. He says, we love Shields. Let's see. Ann says, I would like to think that most teachers want to be in the classroom and not on strike. Teachers need to stand up to their union. That's an interesting take. Here's another comment on Facebook. When the hell are teachers going to just accept what a good deal they have? Really good pay, over 3 months off a year, great sick leave and other benefits, and a great indexed pension. People used to respect teachers, but don't anymore because of all this militant, greedy mess. Don't forget how they screwed up the start of the school year prior to the onset of COVID in fall 2019-2020. It was very disruptive to the kids, and then the entire shutdown. Classroom size is about hiring more teachers. Lowell is 100% correct. Unions are greedy, not altruistic.
See, this is unfortunate. There's no question that there was a time when teachers, I'm speaking generally here, when teachers were much more respected than they are now. And I think one of the reasons that they have lost some of that respect is because of the frequent strikes. People get tired of it. lose respect. It's okay to have a high income, but it's also a good thing to be well regarded and respected in the community. You're prepared to take a few more dollars and lose respect? Well, it's not my cup of tea. John?
So, as you know, my first business that I started is a business for the radio and TV industry. It's job postings.
Yes.
Education is absolutely an essential service because having put job postings online, at least 5 a day since 1996, every single one of them specifies education as an essential part of getting the job. And I'm sure that's not exclusive to radio. That's in any job posting. The education is essential.
And it's more essential today than ever before because we are in a worldwide competition.
100%.
We're up against the education systems in countries like Japan and even in China, whether you like it or not. And there's also no question that there are other countries out there that take education much more seriously than we do. But we've got to compete against them in the global marketplace. And sometimes we're not doing that well in the global marketplace. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, and as more and more jobs move online, you're now competing against those people more than you ever have been. Yeah.
It's a global work, whether you like it or not. Those are the facts. It's a global marketplace today, folks. Go ahead.
Lorraine, thank you for posting on Facebook. She says teachers striking is a bad example for the students. It teaches them that if they can't get what they want in life, it's okay to strike. Kids pick up on this and learn from this. And back to YouTube for a comment. Teachers should not be allowed to strike. If you don't like the job, quit and go work at a big box store. Okay. And Darlene says, didn't the government decide to put Canada Post and public transportation as an essential service? If so, why not have children's education as an essential service? Our kids should not be used as a tool to achieve their demands.
That's a very good question. Is Canada Post an essential service? They're not allowed to strike? I hadn't.
Let me Google that, Lowell. You do your thing and I'll.
Yeah, I'm there's I should know, but I don't, to be honest with you. That's a very good question. Is Canada Post deemed to be an essential service? Hey, listen, if the Daily Mail is considered more essential than education, there's something really screwed up here. Go ahead, John. What else have we got?
Yeah, I'm doing a quick little Google, Lowell. I'm not seeing anything that says it's an essential service. It's,
okay.
It's an important service, but nothing saying essential. Anyway, I'll look deeper into that later on. Back to Ann. She says, what is a strike but having a tantrum because they don't get what they are demanding? Bad lesson to teach the children. Let's go see if we got some emails here because things are otherwise quiet on the front, Lowell.
Okay. We can, it's Friday afternoon. Maybe we can sign off a little bit early. My voice is giving out anyway. I just repeat, and I know that there are probably some teachers and certainly some parents listening right now. It just seems to me that, particularly at this time, that our children deserve, after everything they've gone through in the last two and a half years, they deserve to know that they're going back to the classroom this fall, masked or not. It's up to you. But they will not have a disrupted classroom. I think we owe that to our children. Going to sign off early, folks. It's Friday afternoon. Everybody's probably caught in a traffic jam. Thank you all. Have a good weekend. Back on Monday.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green Podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green Podcast. This is a production of blasttheradio.com.